video number 2 for 3.6 compound inequality notes. These are the types of problems you're going to see when you start doing your homework. Number 1 says your test scores in one class are 83 and 87. What possible scores can you earn on your next test to have a test average between 85 and 90 inclusive? Those are some key things that we're looking at here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to first start off adding the two test grades that we already have. Plus, and the reason we're adding is because when we do the average, remember we add and then divide by the number of test grades. So we're going to add the first two test grades plus the third test grade, which we don't know what it is just yet, or what it can be just yet. So we're going to let it be x, and divide by 3. Oops. Okay, so now it says between. So whenever we write between, we want this to, well, let me see if I can make this a little bit better. We want this to be between 85 and 90. So I want 85 on the left and 90 on the right, because we always put the small number on the left and the big number on the right. Now, in order to be between, we're going to use this symbol. Okay? Now, if you read it backwards, that means that this is greater than or equal to 85. Just kind of reading that backwards. All right? Then it's going to be less than or equal to 90. So what this means is it's between 85 and 90. Notice it says inclusive. That's why I use these bar underneath the less than symbols. So the less than symbols look like it's they're the same. They are the same. But if you read it backwards or read it from left to right, 85 is less than or equal to this average, which is less than or equal to 90. Okay, so that's what a between statement will always have. It'll always use two less than symbols on either side of the inequality or of the expression. All right, now this is how we're going to solve this. We're going to first clear the fraction that's in the middle. So we're going to multiply by 3. That means that 3 and that 3 cancel out. Now, whatever we do to the middle, we got to do to the right side, and we have to do the left side. So let me check my notes here so I don't miss these also. So 3 times 85 is 255. 3 times 90 is 270. All right, so I multiplied by 3. I cleared the fractions. Now I'm going to go ahead and combine like terms in the middle, and you can do that all in one step if you want to. All right, so now we have 255 is less than or equal to 170 plus x, which is less than or equal to 270. Or you can say it like this: 170 plus x is between 255 plus 270. So we need to solve for x. So we go to the x, to the part in the middle, and 170 is positive. So we're going to subtract 170 from the middle, subtract 170 from the right, and subtract 170 from the left. So 255 minus 170 is 85. And this part right here, that's 0, so x is in the middle. And then 270 minus 170 is 100. So our test grades can fall between 85 and 100 inclusive, which means they can equal 85 and can equal 100. But any number between 85 and 100, including 85, 100 is my answer. Notice it says use ascending order. That means write the small number first and then the big number in the second blank. Okay. Number 2, write a compound inequality that represents the following phrase. Graph the solution. All real numbers that are between -4 and 7 inclusive. So another between statement. So we write those two less than symbols on either side of the x. That's what they look like. And make sure we use the bars underneath them because it says inclusive. Small number on the left and big number on the right. And they actually used n, didn't they? So we will use n because they used n. And so that will be answer choice C. -4 is less than or equal to n, which is less than or equal to 7. Now, when it's graphed, we want the shading to be between -4 and 7, and we want -4 and 7 to be included. So notice right there, those are both filled in at -4 and 7, and the shading is between. So this is choice A. Number 3. All right, here we have a compound inequality to solve. So you do need to show your work on these. So we have x's in the middle, so we go to the middle and 5 is positive, so we're going to subtract 5 from the middle, from the left, and from the right. On the left we have -7. In the middle we're going to have x, and on the right we're going to have 1. So whenever we write in the blank, we want this answer to be in the blank. And you may have to use that tool tray down at the bottom in order to write that in there, especially the less than or equal to sign. All right, so we want our shading to be between -7 and 1. -7 must be filled in, and 1 is not filled in. So this is choice D. Now shading has to be between those two numbers because the x is between those two numbers. All right, number 4, another inequality to solve. Compound inequality to solve. So this is like solving equations. We start where the variable is, and we are going to add or subtract first. So here we have -3, so we're going to add 3 to both sides, to all sides. So this is 16 is less than 4p, which is less than or equal to 28. Now go to where the p is, which is in the middle. Divide the middle by 4, the right by 4, and the left by 4. So we have 4 is less than p, which is less than or equal to 7. So this one says type an inequality or compound inequality. So we're going to type that answer in the blank. And now we're looking for the shading where p is between 4 and 7. 4 cannot be filled in, and 7 is filled in. So this is choice B. All right, so that's some between statements. Let's look at some or statements. When you have an or statement, you're going to have two inequalities. So it's like having two separate equations. So we have two separate inequalities. And notice the word or is there. So we're going to solve this. Let's see, we're going to add 4 to both sides on this inequality. And divide by 6. I don't have a lot of room here, do I? And so I get t is less than or equal to -7. I'll just draw it down there. Or, now go over here to the second inequality. Subtract 1. Make sure you're careful on bringing down the correct inequality. So, or t is greater than or equal to 5. So we look over here at our choices. We want t is less than or equal to -7, or t is greater than 5. So that's choice E. Wasn't any of these other ones. Okay? So make sure you pick the right inequality there. That one has less than, this one has greater than. So that's why it was choice E. All right, so on our graph, remember or equations or inequalities, the shading goes away from each other. The shading goes to the left, and the other shading goes to the right. So we want -7 to be included. So it's not A, not C, possibly E, possibly G, possibly B, not D. Not B either, because that's -5. No, not H. So possibly E or G, but also notice that 5 is not included. So we want the choice to be G. So on this one, 5 is included. So 5 does not have a filled-in circle. All right, number 6. All right, we're going to write the interval as an inequality. So we're going to go backwards here. Notice it says that 0 is on the left and 9 is on the right. So 0, because it has a parentheses, is circled, not filled in. 9, because it has a bracket, is filled in. Since it's 0 to 9, that means it's everything between 0 and 9. That's what that interval notation means. So when we write it as an inequality, notice it says use x as a variable. Since the shading is between 0 and 9, then x is between 0 and 9. Now, notice I put the less than symbol here because x is actually greater than 0. But if you read it backwards, 0 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 9, because the 9 is filled in. It's included. All right, so I started off with the graph, makes it easier for me to see. So I want to make sure I pick the right graph here. I want 0 to be circled but not filled in, 9 to be filled in, and the shading to be between. So that would be choice A. Okay. All right, number 7 says write the inequality in interval notation, then graph the interval. I always start off with the graph. It just helps me to see it. So -3 is on the graph. It is circled, not filled in. Notice the arrow is pointing to the right, so that means the shading is going to the right. When it goes to the right, that's positive infinity. So when we write this as interval notation, we're going to have parentheses, -3. Always start with the smallest number when you start writing the interval notation. Smallest number is -3, comma, infinity. And then -3 has parentheses, and so does infinity. Infinity always has parentheses. Negative infinity always has parentheses. Okay, so that's going to be written in interval notation. And then when we graph it, I've already started off with the graph, so I know what it should look like. It should be at -3 and shaded to the right. So that's choice D. All right, number 8. Write the inequality in interval notation, then graph the interval. Okay, so when this is graphed, we have x is less than or equal to -6. And then x is greater than 7. Remember, when you're graphing, the smaller number goes on the left, bigger number on the right. -6 is circled and filled in. Notice the arrow is going to the left, so the shading goes to the left. On 7, it's just circled, it's not filled in. Notice that the arrow is going to the right, so the shading is going to the right. So when we write this at interval notation, the smallest number, or smallest number goes first. So negative infinity is definitely smaller than -6, and then it's parentheses for negative infinity. 6 is bracket because it's filled in, and then we're going to have parentheses 7, comma, parentheses infinity, or infinity parentheses. So we're looking for where we have an or, so it has to be choice A. And then we want the graph for -6 to be going to the left and filled in, 7 to going to the right and not filled in. So that would be choice B. Notice that -6 is filled in, 7 is not filled in. All right, number 9, another inequality, compound inequality to solve. Okay, so subtract 6 from the middle, the left and the right. Now notice this time it says that we want our answer to be in interval notation. So I like to see these as graphed before I write them in interval notation. -4 is circled, 8 is circled and filled in. If x is between the two numbers, then the shading's between the two numbers. So interval notation, this will be -4, comma, notice the -4 has parentheses, 8, and then bracket. So our answer on this one needs to be in interval notation. So make sure you pay attention to the directions. Number 10, this one's really easy. I'm going to make it as easy as possible. The triangle inequality theorem states that the sum of the lengths of any two sides of a triangle is greater than the length of the third side. The lengths of the two sides of a triangle are 14 and 20. Find the possible length of the third side. So the third side must have a greater length greater than, and all you're going to do is take the two numbers, and first we're going to subtract big minus small, and that goes there. And then it says and less than, and now we're going to take the two numbers and add. Okay, so that's all you have to do on that one. So first subtract, that goes in the first blank, then add, that goes in the second blank. All right, good thing that one was easy, because now we have this one. All right, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I do want you to notice that it says hence C equals 5/9 F minus 32. So we are using that particular equation or formula for this one. It says that has a melting point of negative 35.62 and a boiling point of 389.36. What is the range of temperatures in degrees when it's for which the substance is not in liquid state? All right, so it does say let X represent the temperature. I came down here and I wrote it out, melting point or boiling point. It can't be both. You're either at a melting point or you're at a boiling point. It can't be both. That's why I have to use the word or. All right, so this is how you're going to set it up. It's going to be less than or equal to the melting point, greater than or equal to the boiling point. So we're going to use the word or. All right, so whenever I solve this, I'm first going to multiply by the reciprocal. And I just use my trusty calculator there, and I get F minus 32 is less than or equal to, on this one I do get a decimal, so it's negative 64.116. And I rounded to 3 decimal places because that's what it says it to do here. Add 32. And I'm going to get F is less than or equal to negative 32.116. Or, over here to this one, do the same thing. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal first. Use your handy dandy calculator to do that other side there. So this is F minus 32 is greater than or equal to 700.848. Add 32. And F is greater than or equal to 732.848. So, whenever we write this down, we're first going to write it as an inequality. That's what it says here. So we're going to write X is less than or equal to negative 32.116, or X is greater than or equal to 732.848. Then it says express this range in interval notation. So on a graph, the smaller number goes on the left, and it's filled in, and it's going to the left, because this arrow is going to the left. The big number goes on the right. Oops. That's supposed to be an 8. It's filled in, and it's going to the right. So interval notation looks like this. Remember, this is negative infinity. This is positive infinity. So it's negative infinity with parentheses, comma, negative 32.116, bracket, or bracket 732.848, comma, infinity, parentheses. All right. Yes, that was a good one. All right, you are now ready to do your homework.